Good morning. Good morning. It is Michelle, and I'm out here taking you on my morning walk. And I'm going to do a live, but I wanted to be able to get this and let me make sure I don't put anybody's driver's license, license plate on here. Okay, so anyway, I'm getting on the trail now. And I wanted to talk to you about something that is really something that we need to be mindful of, but I caught myself doing, and I'll tell y'all about it in a minute. But I want to talk to you about personal power and your agency, your personal agency. And when I talk about your agency, that's your ability to do what you need to in your life. That is your autonomy, if you will, how you're able to act and, do the things that you do. But I also wanted to talk about, talk about your personal power. And I'm not talking about your power for external stuff. I'm talking about your power for within. And y'all can tell, I had somebody ask me, where's your hair? My hair is still here. It's just wrapped up really tight underneath because it's summertime and I like to keep it in braids, keep it off my neck and stuff because I get really hot. And because I'm walking, all the time and every day, it is not fun. So anyway, that aside, it's still here, y'all. But that aside, I wanted to talk about this personal power and your agency and how we can get tricked and it can become really easy for us to give it away, to get mad, if you will, when it's something that we should be exerting, building, refining, maintaining, upgrading, whatever. And I'll tell you this quick little story of how that felt. And what I'm saying is that the personal power piece, if you will, is so important because more and more we're going to be required to exert this power over our lives, and we're going to have to work with agency over our lives. Okay, so recently I was starting to exhibit some characteristics of trying to outsource my own power in the area of trash pickup. Now, in my neighborhood, like many neighborhoods around the world, when I live in the U.S., we have services because we live in a city, a municipality, or whatever. And my trash and water are provided by my city. Of course, you have to pay them. And recently, I thought they were trying to play in my face. And I was missing trash. And I was like, what is going on? And so I was getting upset because I had taken my trash out. One day I had taken it out like at 6:30 in the morning before I came for my walk, like I would today. Another day I took it out, and I think it was maybe 7ish, because taking it out before my walk, just trying to make sure I stay on a routine. And as I'm driving out the neighborhood, I'm looking, and some of the trash cans look like somebody has already come and picked them up. The lids are off, but there are a lot of them nothing. And I was like, what is going on? So the first time I didn't say anything. When I get home, the trash never comes. I was like, what the heck? So then the next week, it happened. Now, mind you, I've got double the trash. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I get upset and all this kind of stuff. And I see a couple of my neighbors out conversing, because by now I'm in the car driving around to see what's going on. And they politely tell me, one guy's like, the trash came and it woke me up. It was like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I know you're lying. He was like, no. And the other guy, he was like, today? He said, I want to say they came right before 5 a.m. And I was looking at my watch and I'm like, it's 7. What the heck? And I got upset because I had company coming in and I had 2 weeks of trash that had built up. And I was like, this is not going to work. And I was all upset and everything. And I still hadn't gotten this epiphany, y'all, that you know what? This is not their problem. This is mine. So the first thing I did was I went on our city website to see what's the deal. They had in bold, when you go on there, please bring your trash out the night before trash pickup. So I was like, I did not do that. I was in the wrong. They had told me, please do that. I even checked my bill to see, is that a new thing? And my bill from the previous month said it. And I was like, come and think of it, I think this has always been on here in asterisk, in italic with an asterisk on it. Girl, your words. But anyway, I was like, what? So I was wrong. And it was at that moment, it was like, because I had every intention of calling them and telling them, you need to get back here and you need to pick up our trash. And I was wrong. And guess what? You know what? That wasn't their fault. It wasn't something that I needed to, quote unquote, push my power out to affect on someone else. It became apparent to me girl, this is a you problem because you did not put your trash out the night before, before the 12 a.m. of the day. And then I was like, okay. So I picked up the phone and I called, my city and I was like, I've got an issue. And I told them, I said, I've been made aware that, the trash is coming earlier in the wee hours of the morning. And the lady was nice, but she didn't say anything. She just got my address and I could tell she was gearing up to tell me that there was nothing they could come, they couldn't come back. And I was like, I'm not calling to ask for that. And when I said that, I could feel, over the phone, the energy change. I was like, what I'm calling to find out is, do we have a public area where I can take my trash because I need to get it taken care of today? And she's like, oh yes. And she politely gave me the address and told me, she said, and I asked, I said, what kind of ID do I need to bring? She's like, you don't really need to bring anything. If anybody asks you, she said, you just show them your driver's license if it has your address on there. And I was like, okay, thank you. Now let me tell you, as I'm hanging up, did I want to go and unload 2 weeks of rancid, stinking, dripping trash and figure out a way how to get it into my car? Not an SUV, not a truck. No. But did I start to get the epiphany that this is part of your personal power to affect change on yourself and your agency and autonomy? Because it started dawning on me, this is a me problem. And I don't need to get hot and mad because somebody else didn't come to my rescue and solve my problem like they normally do. I have to be able to do this, whether that is a provision or not. Now, you possibly could say, well, Michelle, you pay for it. I do. But, they told me, have it out the night before. If you're going to do it, have it out the night before. Or you run the risk of missing us helping you with this service. And so there was no reason for me to fuss and fight and all this kind of stuff. Not that I would do that. So, y'all, Lordy, humble pie and getting a BART lesson is when you have to unload 2 weeks of trash that stinks and put it into the trunk of your car. Now, of course, I found some cardboard and then I laid out some trash bags, plastic, to help with the juiciness. And I drove and it was not around the corner. I had to drive to another little town that's next to where I live and take it to the incinerators and, unload it myself, which is fine, and do that. And when I got back in the car, having done this, I was like, was that so hard for you to take it upon yourself to take care of yourself and not to get mad because you're trying to outsource your personal power, and when it doesn't work the way you want to just fall out and have a temper tantrum? Now, of course, I did not have a temper tantrum, that kind of thing, but it was where I was like, this is something. And so it got me to thinking on my drive back to my house, and thankful that I got this trash situation taken care of before my company showed up. It got me to thinking, how many other areas am I doing this? How many other areas are we doing this? And I immediately started thinking about, times that are lean and tight, and when things don't go our way, or we have an unexpected bill. Now, I can only speak for myself, but having a financial difficulty that you weren't planning for. And the reason why I thought about that is because of recent things that have happened that I didn't know I was going to have dental issues of great pain without dental insurance. I didn't know that there were certain things that I was going to find out health-wise, and that prohibited me from being able to work for an extended amount of time again, those types of things. And I thought about my process, and I was like, okay. Now, on the one hand, I was grateful because I think being a solopreneur and working for myself, I didn't necessarily have the same reaction I did to taking out the trash, to be upset that somebody else didn't take care of it. But I also had to remind myself that I had to fight for all the years of learning how to be financially resilient, self-sufficient, and those types of things, and to not outsource the ability for me to gain income. And that is something that we would do well to be mindful of, so that we can start to develop these brilliant quests of how can I exert my personal power on myself and have agency to be self-sufficient, to be resilient. Because we got to be careful when we catch ourselves, saying things like, my job is holding me back. I need more money, but it's my dirty job to give me that money. Instead of saying, okay, my job is my job. How can I create value, service increase to others so that I can garner more income. What can I do? You know, taking your agency and activating it, working on that personal power within so that we get to the point where our rote behavior, you know, the behavior that's almost unconscious, is not a they, but a me, you know, instead of they are messing up my life, you know, and keeping me down. It's I have all the power I need to change my life, you know. And this is not a pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of situation, in that you still need help. But, you know, and when you start to activate this power in your life, you can add on, and then hopefully you can grow to the point where you don't need them. That kind of thing. Not only with jobs, but with government. Think about me, you know, having to realize that, yes, my city does provide trash, you know, services and that kind of thing. But ultimately, it's up to me to deal with my waste, right? You know, those types of things. And taking that power back to show ourselves that we can do this. You know, I don't like to challenge people because a challenge is an external thing that once the challenge, the sense of urgency or the tension is gone, we tend to not give the same effect and the same energy to it. So what I want to say, instead of I want to challenge you, I want to appeal to you to become your own personal power and agency champion. I want you to look at an area in your life and make it as small as you can so that it's not daunting or overwhelming, that you can become the champion. You can win at that area where you might have been thinking, this is somebody else's thing, you know, and you have a change. Now, you know what, let me go back because I didn't finish my thought about what I was saying was, as, you know, when personal issues come up. I want to say that a lot of times we can immediately start to think about how are we going to get stuff done, but then we miss the mark by instead start to try to think of ways that we can get others to help us, you know, by assuming, asking, and even thinking that it's owed to us for others to come to our rescue when things aren't going our way or when accidents happen. And that's something that I was saying, you know, I had developed the skill of not necessarily doing. Now, I will say, if you are loved, if you are in community and relationship with others, they will. But it's not ultimately up to them to solve your problems or to even get you out of your situation. And I think that it is a great thing. And the reason why I say it's a great thing is because I believe that if that were to happen, you stop growing and you regress to the point where, guess what? You don't have any more personal power. You don't have any more agency, you know, to change, grow, and to handle what life is surely going to hand out to you. And so I did want to make sure I said that. But getting back to the idea of championing, I want you to pick something where you can activate your personal power on yourself, to empower yourself, to cause yourself to act in a magnificent and mighty way for your benefit, where you take back the power and you affect the change because you have the agency and the autonomy. Nobody can keep you from doing what it is you need to do to help yourself. And again, I am saying this because at the time of this recording, globally, it is getting more and more to the point where society is failing us in different and various ways. And it's not because it's society's fault. It is because society is evolving and growing. And maybe we didn't get the memo yet that the way society acts now is that we all become personal powerhouses where we champion for what we need to do. Now, don't get this conflated. I am not talking about anarchy. I am not talking about every person for themselves. No. What I am talking about is to stop trying to outsource what you can do for yourself to others, where you think that it is just the way things are, and that you're owed certain help, certain services, because that may not be the case. And to drive this home, I want you to think about this, because this is what I'm, thinking about. And what if you no longer live in a cul-de-sac in a subdivision with services offered by your city or whatever, and you must be self-sufficient in your housing? What do you do? How do you handle your waste, whether it be trash or biological waste? How do you present yourself in a way, society-wise, where you are clean. You know, I'm telling y'all, my washing machine and dryer, I'm very grateful for them, because how my grandmother used to tell me they would have to go on the back of the house and wash those clothes up for the week. I was like, can't do that. But you know, thinking about that kind of stuff, what kind of personal power and agency and autonomy are you going to be able to affect so that you're able to take care of yourself, not fall into a mental state that's not healthy, you know? Because when you think about it, there are people right now that are faced with this, and they don't live in a war-torn society. They live next to you. And this is what happens a lot of times when people find themselves in illness, when people find themselves in financial ruin, and they're faced with this. And so I want you to understand that in this life, you will have some troubles. And it's better to start preparing now than when it's too late and you must. Y'all, there's a squirrel right there. And I was just thinking as I'm talking to you guys that the sign of being resourceful is a squirrel. I don't know if you guys see him because he ran up the tree real quick. Thank you, universe, for being, right on time. But learning and practicing the muscle and the skills of being a champion for yourself so that you can figure out, now, are you going to know everything that could possibly happen? No. Am I telling you that you need to become a survivor prep person? No, I'm not saying that, but if that's what comes to you, then hey, maybe you do that. But what I am saying is there is something to be said about self-sufficiency. There is something to be said about resilience and mental toughness, mental strength, and tenacity. And so that's what I wanted to come and talk to you about today is, how to have that personal power that you affect on yourself. All right, so you guys what? The time is up. I thank you for yours. This is Michelle, your big sis for We're Brilliant Quest. I'm going to see you sooner than later. Bye.